So I had a dream a couple days ago. In this dream, I was a guy, a really hot guy. And I was a wizard. I was a part of this really cool wizard order where we all were trying to find the lost library of Alexandria, or whatever it's called. All my other wizard friends, they were like, where is it? Why isn't it here? Why did it go missing? We have to find it. That was their problem. That was their beef to deal with. Me, however, I actually knew where the lost library of Alexandria was. It was behind a coffee shop, disguised as a regular shoe store. And me, being me but a guy, I had taken out all those valuable scrolls containing millennia worth of knowledge, thrown them in a dumpster, and replaced the whole library in this weird looking shoe store with my own books. It was my bookstore now. My bookstore that I was operating out of the pilfered corpse of Alexandria. All my wizard friends were trying to find this library, and I was just standing amongst them, a traitor for her own selfish needs, destroyed one of the great wonders of the world, just so she can have a cool little place to pull up a beanbag, put her Snuggie on, and read books all by herself. I think this weird dream that somehow ended with me and all my wizard friends getting chased by a giant version of V.E. Schwab's A Savage Song. I think this dream is metaphorical or something, but it's not my job to figure out what it is. I am just here to read good books and briefly inconvenience others. That is what I was put on this earth to do. But you know what makes it dang hard to do that? When you haven't read a single good, amazing book this year, 2022. Hi, it's me, your girl, Casey. I hate everything. I managed to read 104 books this year. I took notes on like none of them. The best book I read in 2022 was all the way back in January. So that left a whole bunch of months for mediocrity. I read so many meh books. I read a bunch of 4 stars, but there was nothing that really clicked besides that one book I read way back in January. Can you sense the bitterness grating my voice? I was gonna do this video on all the books that I admired begrudgingly in 2022, but I think it's just gonna be healthier to unleash all the vitriol in my soul right now. There was a bunch of time wasted this year, and I've narrowed it down to a few worthy or unworthy contenders. Oh, and don't you guys think that I didn't not try to film in 2022? That's a double negative. See, I did try to film in 2022. I tried to film a big old chunky review for a book we're about to talk about. But it was 3 hours of raw footage because I was just rambling and my thoughts were going crazy. And I was not about to sift through 3 hours of footage. No, that amount of time could be spent by half just making a script for the review and redoing it. We will get to that eventually. It's just so hard to make good videos when you're bogged down by the most cliche, repetitive samplings of drivel, and you don't get a break from it all throughout the year. I just managed to pick all the worst books this year. How can I be expected to be creative if creativity is not put back into me? I am like the living embodiment of alchemy. Equal exchange. You want something good from me, you gotta give me something good. The barter system, people. Nothing beats it. Anyways, let's rant about something more corporeal. Oh, and I actually realized that I didn't actually number, like, 5th most disliked, 4th most disliked, all the way to the number 1 most disliked. I just threw everything I hated onto a spreadsheet. Let me organize real quick. Anyways, how you been? It's been 9 months. I am sorry. But I had big plans. You know, hell is paved with good intentions and all that stuff. But I had big plans still. I'm just the type of person, because you know the girl in your life who makes a mountain out of a molehill? I'm the girl who looks at a mountain, an avalanche of a mountain, about to fall on top of her, and she's like, it's no problem. I make mountains into molehills. And then I die in the avalanche. Anyways, so I have recompiled my notes. We have 8 worst books of 2022. And before I get to the number 8th most awful book, let me just preface it by saying I love vampires. I really do. But because of Twilight and the inevitable clones that come from it, most of the vampire books I get a hold of with my grubby little greedy hands, they don't cut it. They're awful. However, no hate to Twilight though. It's not even in the bottom half of the worst books I've read in my entire life. I would give it a good C-. It's entertaining. There are far worse, cringy, YA, new adult vampire romances out there, and I unfortunately got a hold of one. It's called Crave by Tracy Wolff. Guys, we cannot raise up the younger generation with books like these. This book is about some Mary Sue protagonist, you know, ditzy as can be, yet all the boys love her for some reason. Her parents die. They're dead. So she gets sent to stay with some relative, I think. The relative has coincidentally a boarding school in Alaska. He's the headmaster. And if you couldn't pick up from the summary, the dust jacket, the promise of vampires on the back of the book, everybody at the school is some form of monster. Yet everybody thinks it's a good idea to pretend towards the one human kid that they're normal. Like that's gonna work out well. The entire student body and faculty have come together to pretend to be human around this girl. This vulnerable lass surrounded by vampires. She's filled with blood. Stuff is going to go wrong. And it has the most, oh, the first male I see, I will fall in love with you immediately. In this book, it only had like 2 settings. It had lengthy, info dumping exposition. This is the entire history of vampires and how we came about into being. So it has that setting, and then all the way over here on near empty, this is full, this is empty. It just has the most useless chatter. I don't feel like people in this book have actual conversations. I just feel like it's Twitter updates. Just the girl, or Mary Sue protagonist, I cannot remember her name and I'm not going to. I actually did have notes for this book, but I somehow deleted them off my phone. I do have the notes for the sequel book, Crush, which I hated even more. I only read those first 2 books. But if you're like me and you can hardly stand petty high school drama and thought maybe the chance that vampires and werewolves could redeem all the nonsense you would have to slog through until you eventually got to the action, this ain't it. This ain't it, bro. It is your typical damsel in distress, oh, vampire boy is always there to save the hapless young girl who can never do anything right and is always in danger, just stares out at it. There's a guy with a battle axe in my example, not in the real book, but a guy with a battle axe running towards her. And all she can do is be oh, what do I do? And it's up to Mr. Vampire Edwin Cullen wannabe. Honestly, Edward was fine. I would rather have Edward, Mr. Bedroom Stalker, than who the heck was the main male lead in this book. His name was Jackson, I think, with an X, because he's edgy. It's just, I'm gonna have to re-rent the audiobook so I can retake notes, because it was so horrible that I want to make a single review for it, and I need to, because if I can't rant about pain, what's the point? Anyways, next up on the list, number 7, we have a booktube darling, which I don't get. It's Song of Achilles. Y'all know what this is. You got the buff Achilles. You got the guy whose name I can't pronounce, Patroclus. Just for the sake of pretending to care, I will Google his name. How the heck do I spell it? Patroclus. How do I not know how to pronounce it? I listened to this on audiobook. Patroclus. This is the book. The book about the mighty Greek hero Achilles, all the wars, all the fights he waged, and his great epic love affair with some skinny wimp named Patroclus. It started off good. It started off real good. It was like an enemies to lovers. These two hated, or at least Patroclus hated Achilles so much that it somehow just snapped and turned into love. That's believable. I kind of like that. But I don't know how I came under this preconception of the book. I thought this book would be, told from Achilles' point of view. The guy who's doing all the cool stuff, the fighting and stuff. I didn't know it was from Patroclus' point of view. The guy who's just sitting there and watching everything happen. He's like a stay-at-home wife. Towards the end of the book, when like the great Trojan War or whatever is happening, Achilles, he's off fighting. Patroclus, he's back at home at the camp, just chilling, having a good time. And then Achilles will come out and be like, oh, hello, Patroclus, love. I decapitated 29 men and 1 Gorgon. And me, the reader, I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. I would much rather be in that point of view than in Patroclus's. To me, this would have been a much better book if it was told in a different point of view and if it was actually much longer. There's like a part of the book where Achilles, when they're like in their honeymoon phase, I guess, he gets sent off to like training, I guess. Or actually, no. Something else happened that's a spoiler. But anyways, Achilles, he gets sent off somewhere. Patroclus is like, no, come back here. You're not going to come back here. I'm going to go find you. So Patroclus goes to find him. Guys, literally 5 pages later, he found him. Like, where's the suspense? I feel like it just like dragged out the lovey-dovey and exposition bits. Like, oh, this is the country we have to go to war against because they kidnapped the hot lady, blah, 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 de blah. Like, all that was given so much attention that it turned like everything else, like Achilles' training, how good he was at fighting, any long journeys they took, and especially the Trojan War, just felt like a training montage. It was just very quick. And even though I love like character like driven novels, I feel like it's just a shame to like omit so much of an awesome story just to focus on the weakest link of the story, which I think is Patroclus. Next up on our list, number 6, we have 1Q84. It's written by Haruki Murakami. Stuff happens. I mean, if you're familiar with Kafka, the same thing happens in this book. So moving on. I already ranted about this book to my friend in a Starbucks, and I traumatized every eavesdropping ear in that place. That's enough for my sanity. Number 5. We have one of the few books where I'm like, I genuinely don't know why you exist. I don't think it accomplished anything. I don't get what the message was. The main character was very unlikable. It's not like it was a great time waster. I listened to it on audiobook and it was only like maybe 2 hours long. So I was like hoping for like a short but action-packed thriller. But no, I just got a book about a nosy woman on a beach. It's called The Lost Daughter. This is apparently like a Netflix show too, adapted from the book. And I'm just going to go ahead and assume the show is better than the book because it just has to be. And why would anybody like adapt a show from this? I do not understand. Yo, literally. Okay, this is the book. Very like bitter woman is like, I think recently divorced, and her kids, like it sounds like her 2 kids just hate her. They're gone. So she's just chilling all by herself, reading her books on a beach. And like this loud and boisterous and happy family like happens to park on the umbrella next to her. That family has a young girl and the young girl has a doll. And our bitter lady just gets obsessed with the girl and her doll too. So much so that she steals the doll from the girl and like keeps it for herself. And it's just like a bunch of like monologuing. I thought the girl, not the doll, is the one that would be lost. No, nothing happens. It's just Lady and the Doll. I won't go into any more because it's such a short read, but it's just a book that I don't think meant anything or accomplished anything, so I do not know why it exists. Moving on, number 4, we have 13 Reasons Why. This thing is infamous for so many reasons, book-wise and TV show-wise, and I was ready for it. I was like, yes, expose, girl, on all the horrible people in your life. Let the tea spill, let it flow. I'm ready. I'm gonna soak it up like juicy gossip right into my pores. And it started out cool. I enjoyed the tapes and stuff. 13 Reasons Why is about a girl. Her name's Hannah Baker. Spoiler, she kills herself. Yeah. But was it before? No. Anyways, okay. She entrusted someone after her death to send out these like cassette tapes to the people that she blames for contributing to her suicide. So yeah, one day, I think the main character's name is Clay. Clay, he gets the tapes. So obviously he's connected. He's one of the reasons. But he's like, I barely talked to this girl. Like, I really wanted to get to know her. I kind of had a crush on her. Why am I responsible? So we listened to the tapes along with Clay. There's like 13 of them, one for each person. And as the book dragged on, I came to the conclusion. Clay is a simp, and I dislike him so much. Oh my gosh. I had no idea where this was gonna go. I was hoping so much that Clay was the 13th reason. Like, he was the final nail in the coffin, the straw that broke the camel's back. Because I thought he was so annoying. Throughout the book, when Hannah, through the tapes, is like making an observation, talking about like how certain people made her like feel devalued because of rumors that were being spread about her, Clay interrupts the whole monologue. He's like, what? Hannah, if you would have let me into your life, I wouldn't let you think such thoughts. I would have showered you with love and affection. I thought this was going to be like a don't put your heroes on a pedestal sort of story. I thought it was going to be like, oh, you thought you were doing such good, but you turned out to be hurting me the most. No. I just feel like if this book would have been from Hannah's point of view instead... Oh, no, wait, scratch that. No, because I like that it's not Hannah's point of view. It's supposed to be detached. We just need to remove Clay from the whole thing. The book is now called 12 Reasons Why, okay? The point of view is going to change for each person on the cassette. So person A, next chapter, person B. Yes, much better book. Then we get all their gross reactions, because those people were gross. But Clay, I hate Clay. And the ending of the book just wrapped up like too nicely. Like, wow, we just read through this like really macabre read, and everything just feels like sunshine and lollipops. Mixed bag of emotions. The third worst book I read in 2022. You're going to see a similar theme between this one and the next book I'm talking about. It's a thriller from a thriller author that I've read and loved before, who let me down tremendously. Because they just did weird stuff in their books, man. This one is called Just Like Home, Sarah Gailey. I loved the book, The Echo Wife, by this author. So I had high hopes. This thriller is supposed to be like a girl returning to her childhood house because her mom's on the brink of death. She was basically like excommunicated from the town because of horrible things that happened in that house related to her father. And I was ready for some family drama, some backstory. The main character is so unlikable. She's strange. She's a nut. Because throughout the book, she has this weird relationship with a man, like another like person in the town who has like a weird interest in her house and the lore behind it. I can only describe her as like flighty or like capricious, because she obviously hates this man, but she's like always flirting with him, but she hates him, so why? This book also had really weird, out of nowhere body horror, like intestines. And this is supposed to be like a thriller and a horror book, so there's tense moments. There's moments where you're like, oh my gosh, something is under the bed, something is in the closet. Yet the writing style it was just bonkers. It was off the walls. Like, it could not stick to the subject. Our main character had woken up because she felt something like shaking her bed. So she's like, oh my gosh, there's something under my bed. But for some reason, let me describe for like 2 pages how the moon filters in through the curtains and how it like, illuminates the white duvet at the bottom of my bed sheets. I don't know. I want to know about the monster under the bed, not your bed sheets. And I thought this was a thriller. It is, but not in the sense that you think. So I was trying like to guess who is doing all these like supernatural paranormal doodads. You cannot guess what happens. It is the most out of nowhere thing. It's not even out of left field. This would be like if you're playing baseball and just 1,000 rugby players just came up and batted you upside the head and stomped on your body. That is how unguessable and how weird the ending of this book is. Which is an interesting segue into the second worst book of 2022, The House Across the Lake by my ex-lover, Riley Sager. I used to love Riley Sager, man. But his last 2 books, they ain't it. This one was so bad. It is such... I hate books that are so obviously copying Rear Window or whatever it's called. It's just a person who is just staying alone in their house. They're stir crazy. They get nosy. They have binoculars, so they put their glasses on and they spy on their neighbors. Something happens. They call the police. No one believes them. There's no proof. They set out to like go find evidence by themselves. This one, like first couple of chapters, there's a party. You know exactly who the suspect is immediately. The book doesn't even try to hide it. You see the person do the shady thing right in front of you. It's him. You just saw that. But this book, it will pull out the weirdest plot twist from nowhere just to distract you from, oh, that guy definitely did it. And this plot twist, I like it, but it just does not suit the genre that it's in. In a different book, it would have been fun and great, and I would love to explore it. Not in a thriller though. It is super spoilery, so I am not going to talk about it, but I would love to discuss this certain thing in thrillers that I see every now and then that I wish they just stop. Or at least they need to market the book better, because it's just not in the thriller genre anymore. Yeah, Riley Sager used to be my favorite thriller author, but he has been replaced by Alice Finney. Alice Finney did great. But Alice Finney isn't on this list because she can write a book. But you know who can't write a book? And you know who can't edit a book? Whoever wrote Lightlark. Because this thing was the worst book I read in 2022. Y'all, are you guys on TikTok? If you are, why aren't you following me? Putting you on the spot. This is the book I filmed but never published a 3-hour rant review for, and I just did not have the energy to comb through all that footage because I just knew it would be a bunch of screaming. But I am going to make a single review for that book eventually. But in summary, this book got a bunch of hype on TikTok. It wasn't authors oh, I've been rejected 1 billion times by publishers, but how would you guys like to read a book that's about an island that only appears every 100 years? 6 or 7 rulers have to compete in order to break their curses, with the winner chosen only through a trial of death. People loved it. There was likes, there was hearts, there was comments. People were excited. People were promised certain things from this book, like certain tropes, certain characters that would appear. Then the book came out. My friend, Goodreads was popping that day. There were so many 1-star reviews flying through the servers because this book was awful. I know what I'm talking about. It wasn't even edited properly. I will show you. I have screenshots, but I'll show you later in a different video because it'll make more sense then. But trust me, I saw everything. The world building in this book was awful. It was just so obvious reading through it that the basic storyline, this girl's gonna fall in love with this guy, then this event is gonna happen, was constructed first. Then the magic system was developed in order to make sure all the plot was able to work. The magic was just magicking for the sake of being convenient to the plot. It's not like the people had to work with the magic system. The magic system was just created solely for the story to continue forward. It was telling, not showing. The relationships were awful. It was going for an enemies to lover thing, which just did not hit. It missed the mark. Again, the magic system and just the story itself, it's so simple yet so contrived. It's like a knot. It's about this world. Okay, for some reason, there's a curse on all these nations. Each nation has their own individual curse. The moonling, they're either called the moonlings. No, they are. They are called side tangent. Okay. I'm gonna forget. Okay. The names in this book are so dumb. The people who control light, they're called the lightlings. The people who control the stars, starlings. Okay, but there are people who control shadows and stuff. What do you think they're called? Darklings? No, they were trying to avoid that copyright from Le Bardugo. No, they're called, oh my gosh, what are they called? I don't know, but they're not called darklings. They have everything has a ling. Wildlings, starlings, moonlings. But because they didn't want Le Bardugo up their butts, the obvious darklings aren't called the darklings. What are they called? Nightshades? I think they're called, what are they called? But anyways, the moonlings, whenever there was a full moon, the ocean would try to drown them. That was their curse. Starlings couldn't live past 25, I think. The lightlings or the sunlings or whatever they're called, they couldn't go out into the sun. The darklings, whatever they're called, couldn't go out at night. They had curses. But every 100 years, this island would appear and the rulers of each cursed nation could come and compete and try to break their curse. And it was just an awful experience to slog through. Yet it somehow got a movie deal. If you want to read something like it, read Caraval, read The Hunger Games. Those are infinitely better than Lightlark. By the way, the island is called Lightlark. The book is called Lightlark. And throughout the book, it's spelled correctly. But this book was so rushed in editing because it had all the TikTok hype that they misspelled the name of the island and the title in the book incorrectly towards the end. Like the editor gave up 60%. I have screenshots. And don't you get me started on all the sun looks like a yolk dialogues I had to slog through. That is my rage that I've been harnessing throughout all of 2022. Tune in next week for a cheerier video where I tell you guys the better books I've read in 2022. Again, the highest besides one book got like 4 stars. Nothing just hit properly. Except that one book, and y'all are gonna make fun of me when you know what it is. But that's okay, because that's what we're here to do. Talk about books. I'm not meant to hoard all my book knowledge in the lost library of Alexandria. I'm meant to drag all the dirty, awful books into the sunlight. So hey, I'm glad to be back. And you're still looking cute too. These 8 or 9 months have aged you well. So until next time, stay reading, my friends.